Welcome to part 3 of this amazing story. To all my new subscribers, thank you for being part of the family. Before we go into the next part, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and I hope you're enjoying the journey so far. Now, let's do a quick flashback to what happened in part 2. Inside Zach's mansion, the maid crouched over Amelia's unconscious body, her face twisted into a cold, sinister expression. With practiced ease, she dragged Amelia's limp form across the luxurious bedroom floor. She reached behind the massive wardrobe, pressing a hidden lever. A concealed door creaked open, revealing a dark tunnel beyond. "No one will even suspect a thing," the maid whispered under her breath. "Dante sends his regards, little light." With a final glance over her shoulder, she disappeared into the shadows, the hidden door sealing shut behind her, leaving no trace of Amelia's presence. Meanwhile, deep within the guard hall, Zach stormed toward Lucas and 2 of the mansion's trusted guards. They stood over a map illuminated by the flickering light of a nearby torch, their faces tense with worry. "What is it?" Zach demanded, his voice sharp and cold. Lucas pointed to a glowing red mark on the parchment. "A shadow-born spy was spotted within our perimeter. We believe they've infiltrated the mansion." Zach's heart dropped. His mind immediately raced to one thought: Amelia. Without waiting another second, his beast senses flared. In a blur of motion, he sprinted toward their room, his blood roaring in his ears. The door slammed open and Zach's breath caught in his throat. The room was empty. No Amelia. Only the shattered remains of a flower vase on the floor, and a crimson stain of blood. For a moment, the world tilted. "No." Zach whispered hoarsely, falling to his knees beside the blood-stained floor. His hands trembled as he touched the spot where her blood had soaked into the rug. "Zia!" he roared, the sound raw and full of agony, echoing through the mansion's stone halls. Pain ripped through him, uncontrollable and consuming. His pupils shrank into sharp slits, and with a savage roar his body transformed violently. Muscles bulged, claws tore through flesh, and his fangs elongated into deadly weapons. The beast within him, barely kept at bay for so long, was finally unleashed in full fury. Lucas and the guards arrived just in time to see Zach's monstrous transformation, their faces pale with awe and fear. "We need to find her!" Lucas shouted over the guttural growls tearing from Zach's throat. "Search every tunnel, every hidden gate." But Zach wasn't waiting. In a blur of black and silver fur, he leapt out the massive window, glass shattering around him. The forest outside shivered under his rage as he vanished into the night, following the faintest trace of her scent. Miles away, inside a moving carriage hidden beneath heavy cloaks and enchantments, Amelia stirred. Her head throbbed painfully, and cold metal cuffs bit into her wrists. The world blurred before her eyes. Across from her sat the maid, but her face had changed. The soft, pleasant mask dissolved, revealing something cruel and twisted underneath. "Wakey, wakey, little bride," the woman sneered, her voice like a blade slicing through the fog in Amelia's mind. "You've got a date with fate." Amelia tried to scream, tried to fight, but her limbs refused to respond. The sedative still clung to her bloodstream like chains, yet deep within her something stirred. A small ember of power she hadn't noticed before. The ring on her finger, Zach's promise, pulsed faintly with a soft, persistent glow. She clung to it in her mind, focusing all her strength on it. Somewhere far off she could feel Zach, his rage, his love, his fire. She wasn't alone. Not yet. Far to the north, Inside the cold, towering walls of the Shadow Citadel, Dante stood before an altar made of bone. His hands were stained crimson as he finished carving ancient sigils into its surface. Shadows danced wildly across the chamber walls, fueled by the dark magic he summoned. He felt her awakening. "She's resisting the sedative," Dante muttered, a flicker of annoyance in his voice. Behind him, the shadow-born woman, the same one who had posed as Amelia's maid, bowed low. "The magic ring protected her longer than we expected," she said. Dante's eyes flared red with fury. "Then take it off," he snarled. "Before the moonborn within her stirs, if she awakens fully, the child they will bear could end everything we have built." He turned to the circle of cloaked figures assembled around him. "Prepare the ritual," he commanded. "Tonight we sever their bond forever." Meanwhile, in the dense forests just beyond the citadel, Zack stalked forward, his massive form cutting through the undergrowth like a phantom of vengeance. Every step brought him closer, every heartbeat drove him harder. The scent trail grew stronger, fresher. He wasn't just hunting now, he was coming for his mate. Inside the dark fortress, Amelia's consciousness flickered in and out. She felt the carriage jolt to a stop. Rough hands yanked her out, dragging her toward a massive obsidian gate, carved with hideous runes. The moment her bare feet touched the ground, a jolt of energy shot through her. The ring on her finger pulsed brighter, stronger. Her mind cleared for a moment. She stumbled but forced herself to stay standing. "You're stronger than I thought," the shadow-born woman hissed in irritation, tightening her grip on Amelia's arm. Through the heavy mist swirling around the fortress grounds, Amelia lifted her head. She didn't know how, but she knew Zack was coming. And so did Dante. In the throne room, Dante smiled coldly as he sensed Zack's approach. He turned to his warriors, voice dripping with hatred. "Ready yourselves," he commanded. "Our enemy is near, but he will not leave this place with her." Outside the citadel, the wind howled through the night, carrying with it a storm not of rain, but of rage. Zack's growl rumbled through the darkness, a warning to all who dared stand in his way. Amelia, half conscious but filled with hope, whispered one word into the swirling mist: "Zack." And somewhere in the shadows he heard her. He would tear the world apart to bring her home. The dark air inside the fortress cracked with raw energy as Zack stormed through the towering obsidian gates. His wings, a remnant of his curse, folded back as he landed heavily in the great hall, the ground trembling under his feet. His eyes locked immediately onto the altar at the far end of the chamber, and to the figure standing beside it. Between them, bound by glowing shackles, was Amelia, pale, weakened, but alive. And when she saw Zack, her eyes lit up with hope, her lips parting in a gasp. "Let her go," Zack growled, his voice low and deadly. "Now!" Dante stepped away from the altar, his dark cloak swirling around him like living smoke. A cruel smile twisted his lips. "You think love makes you strong, brother," he sneered. "It makes you weak. Look at you, rushing to your doom for a girl." Zack's muscles tightened, his claws flexing at his sides. "I'd rather fall protecting her than live drunk on hate like you." With a roar that shook the stone walls, Dante lunged forward, his body shifting mid-air. Dark energy wrapped around his fists, forming claws of pure shadow. Zack met him head-on, beast against beast, brother against brother. Their bodies collided with the force of a storm, claws slashing, fangs bared, the very air cracked and hissed with every blow. The battle raged across the throne room, shattering pillars, tearing deep gashes into the stone floor. Sparks flew as their attacks collided, light battling darkness in a furious clash. Amelia struggled against her bonds, the glowing shackles burning against her skin. The ring on her finger pulsed desperately, responding to her fear, her hope, her love. Summoning all her strength, she focused on the bond between her and Zack, willing it to grow stronger. She called to him, not with words, but with her heart. And he heard her. Zack broke away from Dante with a mighty shove, landing hard but regaining his footing instantly. His chest heaved with exertion, but his eyes burned brighter, fueled by Amelia's silent plea. "You'll never win, Dante," Zack snarled. Dante laughed bitterly, raising a hand. Chains of black lightning sprang from the ground, snapping towards Zack. But with a roar, Zack tore through them, his claws slicing the dark magic apart. "You never understood," Zack said, advancing with deadly purpose. "It was never about power. It was about purpose." With a final surge of strength, Zack slammed into Dante, lifting him off the ground and hurling him across the room. Dante crashed into the obsidian altar, shattering it into 1,000 shards. The shockwave from the impact tore through the fortress. Ritual stones cracked and exploded. The circle Dante had painstakingly carved for the dark ceremony collapsed, its power extinguished. Amelia's shackles vanished in a burst of light. Her legs buckled, but before she could fall, Zack was there, catching her against his chest. "See?" he whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. "I've got you." She looked up at him, her vision blurred by tears, and smiled weakly. "I knew you'd come," she whispered. He held her tighter, shielding her with his body as the fortress continued to crumble around them. "No one will ever take you from me again," he vowed fiercely. But in the distance, Dante groaned, struggling to rise from the wreckage. Zack turned toward him, his arm still wrapped protectively around Amelia. "Let's go home," Zack said. With Amelia clinging to him, Zack sprinted through the collapsing halls, leaping over falling debris and dodging crumbling arches. Behind them, the fortress groaned under its own weight, collapsing into a smoking ruin. Hours later, back at the mansion, Amelia was tucked into the softest bed, her injuries tended and her body cleaned gently by the staff. The entire mansion seemed to hold its breath as Zack sat by her side, never letting go of her hand. Lucas entered quietly, his face grim but relieved. "He's gone," Lucas said. "The fortress collapsed completely after you left. No sign of Dante's body." Zack's jaw tightened. "He's not dead," he said quietly. "Not yet." Lucas nodded solemnly. "We'll prepare for his return." Zack didn't look away from Amelia, brushing his fingers softly against her bandaged forehead. She stirred at his touch, her lashes fluttering open. "Safe," she mumbled, her voice hoarse. "Yes, my light," Zack whispered. "You're safe, I promise." She smiled faintly, her eyes glassy with exhaustion. "Then I'll rest. In your arms." Zack climbed gently onto the bed beside her, careful not to disturb her bandages. He wrapped her in his arms, pulling her close, feeling the steady beat of her heart against his chest. "Always," he whispered against her hair. Outside, the moon rose high above the forest, casting silver light over the mansion. For the first time in a long while, peace settled over them like a protective blanket. But even as they slept, the world beyond stirred with unseen threats. Dante was out there, wounded, furious, and more dangerous than ever. In the farthest reaches of the dark woods, Dante knelt before a broken mirror of obsidian. Blood dripped from his mouth as he gasped for breath. Rage burned hotter than ever inside him. "You think this is over, brother?" he snarled into the darkness. "You think love will save you?" He gritted his teeth, his body shaking with hatred. "I will rip that love from your chest," he vowed. "I will destroy your precious moonborn bride before she fulfills the prophecy." Behind him, the remnants of his shadowborn warriors stirred, loyal to their master even in defeat. Dante rose slowly, his cloak whipping in the wind. "This is not the end," he said, his voice carrying across the cursed land. "This is only the beginning." And somewhere deep within the earth, ancient forces shifted, sensing the coming war. A war that would determine the fate of light and darkness. But for now, in Zach's arms, Amelia slept peacefully, blissfully unaware of the storms yet to come. Morning arrived gently over the mansion. Soft sunlight filtered through the tall windows, casting golden light across the room where Zach and Amelia lay entwined. She stirred first, blinking slowly as the world sharpened around her. For a moment she listened to the peaceful rhythm of Zach's breathing, the steady rise and fall of his chest beneath her hand. Carefully, she lifted her head to look at him. His hair was tousled, his face relaxed in sleep, free of the tension that so often haunted him. A small smile played on her lips. She was safe. They were safe, at least for now. Amelia shifted slightly, careful not to wake him. The sapphire ring on her finger caught the morning light, casting tiny reflections on the walls. She brought it close to her lips, whispering a silent vow. "I'll protect this," she thought. "I'll protect us." A soft knock sounded at the door. Zach's eyes snapped open instantly, his instinct still sharp. His arm tightened protectively around Amelia for a heartbeat before he relaxed, realizing where they were. "Come in," he called, his voice rough with sleep. Lucas stepped inside, bowing his head slightly in respect. His expression was grim but composed. "There's news," he said quietly. Zach sat up carefully, making sure Amelia remained wrapped in the blankets. "Tell me." Lucas approached the bed, handing over a sealed scroll. "From the High Seers." Zach broke the wax seal and unfolded the parchment. His eyes scanned the elegant script, his face unreadable. Amelia sat up slowly, her heart pounding. "What is it?" Zach looked at her, his gaze serious but full of determination. "It's about the child," he said. "The seers confirm it. If we have a child, they will inherit the power of both bloodlines. The child will be the first true moonborn." Amelia swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" Lucas shifted uneasily. "It means your child could bring about an era of peace or an age of darkness." Zach's hand found hers under the covers, squeezing gently. "We will raise them with love," he said firmly, "with strength. Our child will not be a weapon." Amelia nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "We'll protect them, no matter what it takes." Lucas hesitated. "There's more." He unrolled a second scroll, laying it on the small table near the window. It displayed a detailed map of the land, with glowing runes marking certain points. "The Shadowborn are regrouping," Lucas explained. "Dante survived. He's gathering forces at the ruins of the northern peaks." Zach's jaw tightened. "I knew he wasn't dead." "He's planning something," Lucas continued. "Something bigger. We need to prepare." Zach stood slowly, his muscles rippling under the morning light. He walked to the window, staring out over the vast forests surrounding the mansion. "I won't let him touch her again," he said quietly. "I won't let him near our future." Amelia slipped out of bed, wrapping herself in a warm robe, She crossed the room and stood beside him, sliding her hand into his. "We'll face whatever comes," she said, "together." He looked down at her, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Together?" he echoed. Later that afternoon, the mansion bustled with renewed purpose. Guards fortified the walls, supplies were stockpiled, and battle plans were drawn in the grand hall. But even amid the tension, moments of peace bloomed. Zach and Amelia walked through the gardens, her arm tucked through his. The flowers had begun to bloom again, tiny signs of life pushing through the soil after the long, hard winter. They stopped beneath the ancient willow tree, its long branches swaying gently in the breeze. "This is where I first dreamed of having a future," Amelia said softly, looking up at the tree's sprawling canopy. Zach turned to her, his hand finding her waist. "And now you have it," he said. "Not just a dream, a life, a home, a family." Tears welled in her eyes, but they were happy tears this time. She leaned into him, resting her forehead against his chest. "Thank you," she whispered, "for choosing me." He tilted her chin up gently, his blue eyes shining. "I didn't choose you, Zia," he said with a smile. "I found you. Or maybe you found me." They kissed beneath the willow tree, the world falling away around them, leaving only the promise of tomorrow. As evening fell, Zach and Amelia sat before the fire in the great hall, wrapped in a thick blanket. Lucas entered once more, this time carrying a worn leather book. "The seers also sent this," he said, handing it to Zach. "A history of the moonborn lineage. It might help you understand what's coming." Zach opened the book carefully, thumbing through the delicate pages. Strange symbols and ancient prophecies filled the parchment. One phrase caught Amelia's eye, written in bold silver ink. "The light of two hearts shall awaken the power of the moonborn. Through love the curse shall be conquered. Through sacrifice the future shall be written." She traced the words with her finger, feeling their weight. "Once sacrifice," she whispered. Zach closed the book gently. "We'll find a way," he said. "We always do." Lucas nodded. "And you won't be alone. We're with you." Later that night, as Amelia lay curled in Zach's arms, she stared out the window at the vast, starry sky. A soft breeze whispered through the curtains, carrying the scent of distant rain. She knew challenges lay ahead. Battles, sacrifices, darkness that would try to tear them apart. But she also knew this. Their bond was stronger than any curse. Their love had already broken chains thought unbreakable. Their future, though uncertain, was theirs to fight for. And as long as Zach was by her side, she would never stop fighting. In the distance, hidden deep within the forests, Dante watched the mansion from a cliffside. His black cloak whipped around him in the wind, his red eyes burning with hatred. "Enjoy your peace, brother," he muttered. "It will not last." Beside him, a Shadowborn warrior stepped forward. "When shall we strike, my lord?" Dante's smile was cold as death. "Soon," he whispered. "When the moonborn awakens fully, when the child grows inside her, that's when we end them both." He turned back toward the dark woods, disappearing into the shadows. The final battle had not yet begun, but it was coming, and the world would tremble when it did. Hours later, the soft light of dawn spilled into the room, casting a golden glow over their entwined bodies. Zach held Amelia close, her head resting gently on his chest, listening to the steady, comforting beat of his heart. For the first time in a long time, she felt completely safe, completely his. Zack brushed a lazy hand through her hair, then pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "You're mine now, Zia, in every way," he murmured. "Honor," Amelia smiled sleepily, her fingers tracing slow circles across his bare chest. "And you're mine," she whispered back. They stayed like that for a long while, wrapped in the cocoon of each other's warmth, letting the rest of the world fade into irrelevance. But peace, it seemed, was short-lived. A sudden, urgent knock echoed through the room. Zack's body tensed. His instincts sharpened instantly. Amelia stared beside him, a slight frown on her face. "What is it?" Zack slid carefully out of bed, pulling on a robe as he moved toward the door. Lucas stood outside, his face grim and eyes sharp. "My lord, my lady." He glanced past Zack into the room, noting Amelia sitting up in bed, the sheet clutched around her. "You need to come to the council chamber. It's urgent. The High Seers have sent a new message." Zack's jaw clenched. He turned back to Amelia, softening as their eyes met. "Get dressed, love. We'll face this together." Minutes later, Amelia, now wrapped in a simple gown, her hair hastily braided, walked beside Zack through the wide, echoing corridors of the mansion. The hallways felt unusually silent, as if the very stones knew something ancient had awakened. When they entered the council chamber, the air inside felt heavy, electric with tension. A scroll lay open on the table, glowing faintly with the unmistakable pulse of ancient magic. Zack stepped forward and picked it up, his brow furrowing as he read. His expression grew darker with each passing second. "What does it say?" Amelia asked, moving closer to him. Zack's voice was low and deliberate as he read aloud. "The child of the cursed and pure-hearted shall not only inherit the power of light and darkness, but shall awaken the beast of ages." Amelia's eyes widened. "Beast of ages?" Lucas stepped in, his voice grave. "It's said to be a creature so ancient, so powerful, it could destroy entire kingdoms with a single roar." Zack continued reading from the scroll. "And when the blood of the Union first stirs, the beast shall awaken to seek its master." A chilling silence spread across the chamber like a creeping fog. Amelia's hands instinctively went to her stomach, a flicker of fear and awe flashing through her eyes. Zack noticed the movement and immediately took her hands into his. "We'll protect whatever comes, no matter what it is," he said firmly. She nodded, though inside her heart thundered. Something had already begun, something ancient, something unstoppable. And now it was only a matter of time. The night back in their bedroom. The moon hung high, casting silver light through the windows and bathing the room in a quiet glow. Amelia sat by the window, her eyes fixed on the vast, dark forest beyond the mansion's edge. Her hands rested lightly on her stomach, where a faint but undeniable warmth pulsed, strange, comforting, and real. Zack came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pressing a gentle kiss to her bare shoulder. "You should rest, see," he murmured against her skin. "You've been through too much." She leaned back into his embrace, closing her eyes momentarily. "I'm trying, but something's changing inside me. I can feel it." Zack's arms tightened protectively around her. "Whatever it is, we'll face it, together." Then, a deep, distant rumble shook the earth. The window panes rattled violently, the chandeliers swayed above. Amelia sprang to her feet, eyes wide. "What was that?" Lucas burst into the room, breathless. "My lord, my lady," he gasped. "The ground, it's breaking open near the eastern woods. Something is rising." Zack's face hardened. He grabbed his sword from the wall and turned to Amelia. Stay close to me. Don't leave my side. Together, hand in hand, they raced into the night. Ate the mat like the Shedgies. The earth had split wide open. A massive crater yawned at the edge of the forest, spiderwebbing cracks across the land. From its heart, a colossal clawed hand emerged, gripping the soil with ancient fury. Villagers screamed and ran, but Zack and Amelia stood firm, side by side, eyes locked on the impossible. The creature that rose was monstrous, covered in scales of obsidian and silver, its red eyes glowing with the fire of forgotten worlds. It pulled its massive body free from the pit, the ground quaking with each movement, and then its gaze landed on Amelia. She clutched Zack's arm, trembling. "Zack, it's looking at me." Zack stepped protectively in front of her, his sword drawn. "You'll have to go through me first, monster." But the creature did something no one expected. It lowered its enormous body and bowed its head toward Amelia. In submission. The ground vibrated as it spoke, in a deep, thunderous voice. "My master, you have awakened me at last." Gasps broke out among the remaining villagers and guards. Zack turned to Amelia, stunned, her face a reflection of his own shock. Lucas fell to one knee. "The prophecy. It's true. She carries the blood of kings and gods." The beast lifted its massive head slightly, golden eyes glowing with reverence. "Command me, mistress. Your enemies shall fall. Your lands shall be protected." Amelia's mouth went dry. She looked to Zack, her anchor, her light in the storm. He gave her a small, steady nod that said everything. "You're not alone. You're ready." With a trembling breath, she stepped forward and raised her hand. Immediately the beast responded, lowering itself further in total obedience. Her voice came soft, but unwavering. "I don't seek destruction. I seek peace. Protect us, but do not destroy unless I command it." The beast rumbled in deep approval, a sound like shifting mountains. Zack stepped up behind her, wrapping an arm around her waist. "My queen," he whispered into her ear, awe and pride thick in his voice. Amelia turned to him, her heart pounding wildly, and kissed him, deeply, right there before the world. Their love had awakened something eternal, something divine. But far away in the shadows, a figure watched. Dante, broken and consumed by fury, clenched his fists as hatred burned through him like acid. And he vowed to the darkness, "If I cannot destroy them, I will make the child mine."